Welcome back to the Doctor Who Watching Now podcast from Couch Soup. The Doctor and Ruby Sunday, mostly Ruby Sunday, are back for the fourth episode of Doctor Who, 73 yards. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to go through today. Let me introduce our panel. We have 73 yards, Ben.
Hello, I'm 73 yards away from the podcast.
Also 73 yards, Charlotte.
I'm trying to think what it would be in metric. They don't
43
teach us
meters?
other maths here. Right, there you go.
I don't know.
1 acre, Drew?
I'm just, and then all you guys just need to disappear after I whisper in your ear or something.
Scream and run away.
Yep, Ian's going back to the start of the podcast.
Why?
It's a loop.
Oh, fuck you. It's me, it's Ian. I'm going to be salty today, guys, so buckle up. Before we get to my salt, we should probably get to the non-spoiler overview from all of our guys and gals. Broad summary of this episode. Ruby and Doctor land in Wales, break some kind of weird cotton circle that we later found out is a fairy circle. And then the Doctor disappears. Ruby's left alone, sort of. There's just an old lady in the background of every shot doing some ASL or something. And then
she's like bringing in like an air traffic, like she's like an air traffic controller. She's like bringing in a plane.
Exactly. The whole concept of this is Ruby needs to find a way to get rid of her or just learn to live with it.
We have another episode of Doctor Who, Sans Doctor. There's actually quite a few of them in history, which is really interesting. I always like when they kind of ditch the Doctor and focus on the companion for a change. Lovely little bit of Welsh folklore, pretty scenery. Love the scenery. We're in Wales, of course. I loved it. I thought it was just great. Just atmospheric wise, fantastic. Story wise, I have questions. A few.
We've all got questions, Charlotte. We've all got questions, yeah. I think, today.
Just to sum it up real easy, it's a head scratcher. This episode's just kind of...
Okay, so I am convinced we were not watching an episode of Doctor Who. We were watching an episode of either Torchwood or Black Mirror that ended up on the cutting room floor. One of those two. I think this episode should just have been titled Who, because there is very little Doctor. I feel like it was filled with all sorts of stuff that just had to be filled in later. I think that later episodes will put some context onto this episode to say why it was needed to be here. Mm-hmm. But right now, it's so inconsistent and full of so many holes and plot holes, and we just don't have the information to make any sense of it. It's just kind of not excusable to me. I didn't like it. I think that there was a hint of a story here, but this is something that you're just gonna be like, at the end of it and think, well, why?
Yeah.
This episode is 47 minutes long. And about 45 minutes of it is incredibly awesome. Like, it's incredible. There's 2 minutes of it that almost like tank this whole episode, and it's the end. It doesn't do, the ending is just not there. There needs to be more to tie things together. It doesn't quite make sense. And to the point where I had to go back and actually watch the opening 10 minutes again, because I didn't even understand what was going, like I had to like refresh my memory of how this episode opened, to refresh like how the ending and the beginning, like it was very confusing, but the rest of the episode is awesome. The tension, it's scary. It's got some jokes in it that are just like downright awesome. Like the writing, I think, is really on point here. Like the dialogue, at least, is really, really fun and witty and sharp. I actually even like the politics that gets thrown in here. I know a lot of people probably disagree with me there. I actually liked when it goes in the episodes, and I like these kind of episodes that kind of take time travel, and you kind of follow a singular character that's meant to kind of do something spectacular with their livelihood. In general, I like this episode, and we could learn. This could end up being one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, I think, for a lot of people. If the rest of the season kind of clears up some of the head scratchiness that we're all kind of like having here, but I thought it was great overall.
Fuck this episode. Fuck it right to hell.
You go to hell. You go to hell and you die.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
Wow.
I have to agree with most of what you said, Drew. But the ending tanks it so hard that it makes the rest of the episode tarnished. It's just shit because of the ending. Those types of endings fuck me right up the arse. It's just
nice. And you're not into that.
I'm not into that.
Okay.
Today.
I mean, maybe this could have been like a scenario where today, yeah, it's a Wednesday, it's a Monday,
Yeah. We only do those type of things.
Days that end in Y.
Yeah.
Kind of not. Yeah, gotcha. I like this like split here because I have the more I thought about this episode, the more because I actually like this. I was with you, Ben. Like at the end of the episode, I was ready to throw the remote at the TV. The more I thought about it, and the more I actually went on Twitter and I actually started reading other people's comments because I too was sort of like, and a lot of people were feeling, but a lot of people kind of were pointing out some interesting things. And I think are actually pretty clever that if they can do something here in the last 4 episodes of this season to kind of like give reasons for why Ruby is able to do some of the things she's able to do, then I might be in. I might be in on this season.
Without further ado, then we'll go on to our spoiler talk. Spoilers from this point forward. If I can't control myself, I might spoil the ending straight away. So just beware, viewer. The Doctor and Ruby step off of the TARDIS on a Wales cliff. It's dead pretty. There's ocean in the background and there's greenery. And they start talking about stuff that the Doctor shouldn't talk about yet, which is like spoilers for 2046. Shouldn't really be talking about stuff in her future yet, but we'll get to that later. First thing that they do is step on some cotton. It's not just any cotton though. It's some weird occult cotton.
I think it's a plant because it happened to be right in front of where the TARDIS landed, like primed to be stepped on. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's not even a sign or anything. It's just there. That's a plant. Like somebody has placed that there.
The TARDIS always plants them in a situation. So I'm it's sort of like I don't, that didn't bother me, like the fact that the TARDIS lands right on top of a problem. It always lands right on top of a problem, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's sort of, that's its thing.
I'm with you, Drew, on that one. It barely ever lands in a safe place. It's a troublemaker. It's a shit stirrer.
Totally, yeah. No, I agree. The whole like him talking about Mad or the Mad Jack, I guess. And then that the papers happen to read Mad Jack. It feels like an odd coincidence. I don't have a problem with him talking about the future. He talks about the future all the time. He's like, oh yeah, you guys are spacefaring. You guys will leave Earth one day. Oh yeah, humans. Well, like he talks about that shit all the time.
Okay, fine.
But I agree that coincidence there, the fact that he was verbally talking about that person, and then the notes on the scrolls inside the cotton hex are the cotton fairy circle are about that same person is oddly convenient. So I do kind of feel like where you're going there, Ben, which is somebody planted it or there's some weird coincidence. And that's been the theme with Ruby the whole season, right? Coincidence. Like that's kind of been her superpower, as it were, almost.
I was thrown off at first when they started talking about fairy circles, because fairy circles here are not made out of string, they're made out of mushroom. I also found it very strange that things were mentioned on the papers that they were talking about, but again, it's Doctor Who and it's always a bit odd. Things always kind of line up. Like, what was it the TARDIS once said to him? I didn't take you where you wanted to go, but I took you where you needed to go. That thought was already in his head. To me, it just kind of makes sense. It's Doctor Who. It's just what they do. The abruptness of his disappearance was
it's strange. Maybe.
It left a little bit too much of a question, and there's no explanation.
Well,
on that. So,
I feel like Ruby was just shunted onto a different timeline where the Doctor wasn't there.
Do you?
That's what I feel like. I mean,
but the TARDIS is? So that does. So there is a doctor, just not him.
I
So the TARDIS being there, I think, is what's throwing
don't know.
everyone
It's
in
like
the universe off here.
there's a line later on where a character talks about it being a personal timeline or something, which I think explains that.
I just felt like the Doctor was moved onto a different plane of existence. It was the Doctor that got moved, not Ruby. When we get to the unit stuff and the mother and the Nana and all of that jazz, it made more sense that it was the Doctor being punished for him being the one that initially broke the fairy circle. But yeah, the abruptness
Again,
of the Doctor leaving the timeline was like, hey up, where's he gone?
to me, what I thought it was that the paradox immediately got taken into account, and the Doctor was removed because the paradox technically already happens, where Ruby already goes back and the Doctor's back on the timeline she gets to later. I do have one last thing to talk about the fairy circle about. Russell T Davies' verse has shown fairies before in an episode of Torchwood.
Okay.
And so they exist and they don't have anything to do with this sort of thing. Sort of a Russell, what are you doing? Didn't you already do this? In that episode of Torchwood, the fairies only vanished children into like the fairy dimension or something. So yeah.
Fair. So they've got previous for vanishing people.
Yeah, I guess they do. So it does
tracks
work out that way. But
so once the Doctor's gone, Ruby sees the old woman on the cliff doing the sign language under a creepy little tree, and then Ruby walks off thinking, she's just a mad old lady on the cliff. So she walks away, and she follows her at a distance and just keeps following her and following her until Ruby meets a hiker. Who's the hiker, guys?
Susan Twist.
It's them again.
It's Susan Twist. This time, however, Ruby sort of recognizes her. Sort of. Don't I know you? Don't I know? Of course not.
I think she's got more lines in this episode than she had in the others.
I don't know. When I watched it, I was waiting for because she recognizes her, and then I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, right? Like, because we've all been talking about it, and I think a lot of the internet's kind of picked up on it, right? Like, it's not like something that, it's almost like Davies is trolling us, right? It's kind of, because it's clever, because she's like, Ruby says like, oh, and can you mention, ask whether if she knows she knows where the doctor is. Like, she's asking the old lady to talk to the other old lady that's doing sign language, and she's like, Doctor who? Like, she doesn't know. Like, she's like clueless about the Doctor. So
yeah,
kind of, and feels sincere. Like, in either that it's a good actress, maybe she's an incredible actor, but it feels really sincere. It doesn't feel like there's undertone there. And then she walks up to the thing and gets flummoxed, just like everyone else. Like, she talks to the old lady and then runs away screaming. So she's clearly not like a supernatural being of what, you know what I'm saying? She's not part of the, what are we calling it? The
pantheon.
right?
The
Like,
pantheon.
the pantheon. Yeah, she's not part of the pantheon. So, like, right away, like, he's sort of giving us, A, she doesn't know who the Doctor is, B, she's not part of the pantheon, but she's still sort of showing up as a coincidence throughout each timeline. So it's super weird.
Ben, your excuse me, your theory last week about Susan seems to really be everywhere. I have listened to several podcasts now where people are discussing being breadcrumbed by Davies, like he used to do with other characters or other things throughout, like the Bad Wolf appearing everywhere, and you don't really notice it until you go back and watch it, but it's been there the whole time.
The weird thing though is he's given like 3 trails of breadcrumbs at the same time, so you've got to really work out which one you want to do, and they're all in this episode. There's Susan Twist, Mrs. Flood, and Ruby herself.
The hiker lady, she pegs it, and then Ruby also trundles off thinking that was pretty weird, and then gets to the town. I forget the name of the town. It was Welsh sounding. It had lots of G's and W's and L's in it. She goes into a pub, asks for a room. They look at her like a local pub should do. It makes my heart grow fonder. You know, you don't belong here. Get the fuck out of my pub. She asks for a room.
So good.
Yeah, she asks for a room and asks if she can play on a phone. And they troll her. City girl. in a local pub in Wales.
This part of the episode was so like because the tension right is really like amped up to like 100. Like this lady's been following Ruby. She like hides in this like tavern, and you could see her out the window. Other people could see her.
Yeah.
Like when she points it out, it's kind of crazy. Like you're sort of like, holy shit, this is creepy. It's like dark out, it kind of stormy looking, and like they're in the pub and they're all talking about like, oh, you broke the fairy circle. Oh, Mad Jack. Like they're like leaning into it. And Ruby's like, oh, well, what's that mean? And they're like, oh, well, he murdered like whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're like just giving her, feeding her everything. And then there's a moment where you're like, as the audience, you're like, oh shit, like this is like you're fucked, Ruby. And then they all just start laughing, and I'm just like, oh my god, genius stuff. Like this was my favorite part of the episode.
From this part of the episode, I've started thinking that Ruby should be renamed Squidward because everything hates Ruby. No matter where she goes, she gets shot, she gets gunked, she gets tied up, she gets everything that happens in this episode. Everything hates Ruby. Like even her own mom hates her in this episode.
Then we get the second instance of someone getting shit scared of the woman when good old Joshy goes to speak to her. He runs off and refuses to come back to the pub until Ruby's gone. Ominous. So Ruby gets kicked out as well. The woman has not left Ruby's 73 yards away since the circle's broken.
I thought she was being like haunted by something. I figured there might be some way that it could have like been like fixed or something, but it never really does. So I don't really know. At this point in the episode, I was kind of spooked.
I think by this point, I was, while we were still in the pub, I was waiting for like some words of wisdom from like, I believe the way she pronounces her name is Sharn Phillips, the older lady that's in the pub. She was in Dune, if you don't know, the original.
Okay.
I just really kind of wanted, some good Welsh folklore explanation of backstory or something to give me an idea of what's happening, because I'm like lost at this point. I need cue cards. I need the script. Somebody help.
I really like the setup of this episode. That it felt ominous. Like this character, she can't get to it, and everybody she sends to it runs away. Like incredible. Like what a great that's a great premise, right? Like so it's sort of like how can you stop something from like coming at you, or not coming up, but just the sense of being there is just eerie. And then not being able to get rid of it, and even the people that you think can help you can't get rid of it either. Like this is the point where in the episode I'm like, oh my god, I'm leaning in heavy, and after the trolling at the bar, I'm like, this is great. I'm all in here, and I'm to the point where I've almost forgotten and almost don't care that the doctor's not in this at this moment. It changed from the episode I thought it was going to be. Like I thought it was going to be one of those like, okay, she's in a town at a bar and she's going to try to save everybody. Like she's going to send one person out at a time and try to figure out like, everyone is going to come back with a different clue or something. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the monster of the week kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And she's going to solve it somehow. The doctor's going to show up randomly, and then the episode goes completely off that train of track. So it felt like expertly structured to sort of subvert your expectations for a Doctor Who episode. At every 10 minutes, it felt like it turns. So very clever.
To me, I felt it was almost going to be a Weeping Angel episode, and like there were the sort of breadcrumbs to make you feel like that throughout the episode until the ending as well, that it was going to be a Weeping Angel episode, because like the atmosphere is scary enough to be like something like that episode. As we go on, it feels ripped right out of the Twilight Zone, just like a one-shot Twilight Zone. I was enjoying it at this point. It has to go really far downhill to make me not enjoy it at this point. And it did.
Oh
no. Ruby leaves the Welsh town, I will call it. Sorry, Welsh people. And she
You're
goes
never
back.
allowed back there again.
I am never allowed back in Wales again. She goes back to London, back to her mum and Nana, tells her everything that's happened. Oh no, Doctor's gone. It was good while it lasts, that sort of thing. And then starts telling her mum about the old lady who's quite far away but not far enough. So her mum comes up with a great idea. What if I get on the phone with you and then I approach it and then you can hear what it's saying? At this point, Mrs. Flood, who we saw back in the Toy Maker episode, The Giggle, who we all know Ben hates, that old lady from Coronation Street.
EastEnders.
EastEnders. Oh, sorry. I don't know things.
There's a difference.
There is a difference. She comes out and goes, "What you doing?" "I'm dipping." Yeah, I don't want any part of this. Let me go back down to my cellar.
She skipped the episode.
She did. She saw what was going to happen, and she was like, "Nah, I'm not for this, guys. I'm gonna go back in my house in the relative safety." What the fuck is going on with Mrs. Flood? She has a very brief appearance in this one, but like she knows shit going down.
Maybe she's like Russell T Davies' avatar in the series. Maybe Russell speaks through her like as an avatar.
I think she's a red herring. I don't think she's anybody. I think she's just the creepy old neighbor and happens to be able and oddly enough, she speaks directly to the camera in that first episode and it's forgotten. Like it's just I don't think she's nobody. She's just the creepy old neighbor that sees things and knows things and probably seen the TARDIS before, around. She's old. The Doctor's been around a long time. She's probably seen a TARDIS land in London at some point, right? So I don't know. I think a lot of people have like thousands of theories. I don't think my theory is she's just she's neighbor. She's Mrs. Flood. She's the neighbor. That's it.
I just found it very strange that the nosiest woman on the block decided that whatever was very interesting happening outside her door was none of her business. Because she was like, it has nothing to do with me, and walks into her house.
Yeah.
She knows a lot about her neighbors and what they do and don't do and what they like and don't like. A little strange she's not out there nosing.
Maybe she is nobody, but breaking the fourth wall stuff from that episode, there's something going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. But today the Doctor wasn't about, so we didn't get any musical numbers.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
that's the one thing this episode didn't have is a musical number. You're right. Yeah. No singing was involved. We figured it out.
It's just the Doctor. The Doctor loves singing. We go back to this masterful plan that Ruby and her mum have. Ruby's mum starts walking down the street, gets close and closer and closer. And Ruby's like, "What's she saying, Mum?" Ruby asks, "What does she look like?" Mum said, "Looks like what she looks like." And then Mum says, "She looks like what she is." Nobody knows what that is at the moment, but it's fucking creepy. That's a creepy way of putting anything.
It's awesome. Yeah, but they actually answer that in like 10 minutes later. Like not even. It's great.
That leads to like. Actually, my favorite part of this episode that actually was just so good was Ruby's mom leaving in a taxi and just staring her down like she killed her cat.
I know.
Like the look on the actress's face looking at Millie Gibson was absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. It was just so terrifying. Like if somebody looked at me like that, I'd think it's over. They hate me forever.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. And it was terrifying, but also just like heartbreaking because you're like, you kind of suspected it could happen, but the fact that the episode went there, you were like, oh shit, like, wow. And I want to note that 3 people that have run away so far. So the twist and the old lady on the hiker ran away, and and you don't really know why, but she kind of just runs away from the whole situation, and it kind of feels like she's running away from both Ruby and the old lady. Kind of feels like a boat, because why not run back to Ruby and say like something, right? Like it feels like she's just leaving the situation, like both of them. And then the same thing when the bar guy, I forgot his name,
Josh,
one of the bar, Josh, thank you.
Yeah.
When he leaves and goes and he actually, there's a dialogue line that says like he's not coming back because of her, right? Like, and she thinks it's her. Like the barkeep, the owner of the bar thinks it's Ruby, but Ruby thinks he means her,
Mhm.
and you don't really quite understand. But the way I'm putting it all together, they're sort of like tied together. Like
Yeah.
they're both scared of each other. Like you don't want to be around Ruby or that thing, right? It's sort of like they're tied, like in a quantum flux or some shit, right? Quantum state. So I don't know. I'm just bringing that up because I think it's important later when something else happens that doesn't quite make sense, and I want to talk about it.
I really want to know what the creature says to Ruby's mother, because when you see her drive by or ride by in the cab, she looks disgusted. What could have been said to arouse that kind of an emotion and reaction in an adoptive mother?
Russell T. Davies, I think there was an interview, and I saw it on Twitter, and I don't know the source, other than someone quoted him saying he'll never tell you what she says. Like it's up to, because it makes it scarier for us to feel like, to kind of put what could possibly be there rather than him tell you, right? So it's sort of like
that was from Doctor Who Unlimited.
It is pretty scary what could like evoke such hatred in such a loving mother, to change the locks, never speak to a child again.
Yeah.
Like,
And tell her on the phone, I'm not even your real mom. Your
Yeah,
your
no.
real mom didn't want you either. Like, wow.
yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't just inspire like running away, but absolute hatred. Which, to be fair, the universe has shown that to Ruby like the entire series, but to have it just be so visceral, it's just like, ugh.
I don't know. Those space babies really liked Ruby. They were kind of close, you know. Lots of
Yeah, but
hugs there.
she got slimed.
Yep.
She did get slimed.
The doctor didn't get slimed, only Ruby.
Oh yeah, yeah. Snot. Yeah, that was gross.
A year goes by, and it takes a year for UNIT to respond to Ruby. Apparently, Kate Lethbridge Stewart, the head of UNIT that we saw in the Giggle. She comes to Ruby and with a plan. They have been tracking the old lady. No camera can pick it up. It's like a vampire almost, except more fuzzy rather than clear images. Whilst they're talking in the cafe, other unit troops converge on the old lady. Go, go, go! Get the old lady! Get the old lady!
The bear is down. Repeat, the bear is down. They've got the bear.
I think that's a Wookiee. That's a Wookiee.
No, it's not. It's a bear.
Just the image of this old woman that nobody else can see, and suddenly all these armed troops with sniper rifles start taking aim at a random part of the street where nobody else can see it. The people must be panicking like crazy all of a sudden.
People can see it, they just don't notice it. That's the thing, isn't it? So they know that there's an old lady there. They can see the old lady, but they just don't know that there's anything weird about her, even though she's just like fuzzy in the like peripheries.
The government are really getting aggressive about the pension age.
Yeah, they said she had her own perception filter, basically.
Right, like the TARDIS.
Yeah.
I thought this moment was awesome because here's a moment where like she's about to get help. Finally, she's like, "Oh my God, thank you!" Like she's like literally like, "You're gonna like, oh my, you know all this information, like you're feeding me information that that's taken me years to figure out. Like, oh my God, where have you been?" And this is a great point in the episode too, because there's a lot of info dump here. They're like, "Oh yeah, she's 73 yards." So now you understand like the meaning of the episode title. She looks like she's always 73 yards away, no matter how close or what camera we use or high definition. So there's some reasoning why the mother could only was saying she looks like what she looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some reasoning behind that, and so you're starting to get logic applied to something scary that was scary. So again, for me, this is like, oh yeah, great. This is good stuff. Like this is good horror dump, like info dump, like mystery shit. And the moment, like she's like, okay, we're gonna help you. And she's like, you could see her like start to feel like she has hope, and then it all gets just ripped fucking away because whatever she whispers like goes into Lethbridge's comm, and she just ups and fucking, she's like abort or whatever. I forget she's like,
we're out.
And everybody just fucking leaves.
Disengage.
And again, seems to leave Ruby. Not only seems to like be like, I'm out of your life, Ruby, as well. Like it's not just they're scared of the thing; they're scared of Ruby. Like they want no part of Ruby. She's like, I just don't want anything to do with you, Ruby. You're out of whatever. We're not helping you. And that seems to apply with everybody that's kind of met. Like it's not like her mom stopped caring about living or something and just went off and did something. It's just she didn't care about Ruby anymore. So, and again, I'm pointing this out because Something happens later in the episode that just makes no sense to me.
I have one thing about this conversation that might have slipped people. Firstly, we get to have a look at Kate Stewart's fingernails, and they're the same as the one that picks up the master. And when Ruby asks her, how did you survive without the doctor for this time? She says, by the skin of our teeth, which is what the master was stuck in. Which I think might be a clever hint to saying that she's Amanda Wallering the master around to help with UNIT's investigations.
It's a really good theory. It's fucking dumb if she is doing that, though.
Yeah, you don't get away with the master doing that.
That's interesting because she also says, like, oh, we work with the doctor and sometimes against him. You know, like, it's sort of like she's definitely puts herself even to Ruby, like, in the gray area.
I'm always happy to see UNIT come into an episode because there's always something fun going on or something crazy or something just absolutely ridiculous. This case, it was a little ridiculous. I love Kate's reaction to hearing the whisper because you don't really get to see a close-up reaction to anybody else while it's happening. So I like to just kind of see the shift in her face when she's just like, all right, I'm fucking out. Bye. Like, she goes from being very genial to just instantly like, nope, see ya.
The interesting thing is that, right, they could have turned their snipers on Ruby right then if they were truly scared and thought she was a threat. Kate doesn't think she's a threat. She just wants her gone from her life. That's all it is. Like, if they were truly scared, they could have taken her out right then and there, but they didn't.
That's a good point.
Which is a really strange, like, way to hate someone enough to get them away from you.
Especially as UNIT, I guess, who specialize in supernatural forces and keeping them under control or getting rid of them altogether. If they thought that Ruby was a threat in that instance, unless some part of the whispers was just controlling the people that it whispered to say, leave her alone, but fuck off.
They're not really afraid of a lot because I mean they're not above going and just snatching up the TARDIS with a helicopter and flying it across London. Like,
Ruby's alone, 100% alone, and she's got no one around her. She's been abandoned by her mum. She's been abandoned by the doctor, or so she thinks. She's been abandoned by UNIT. Time to learn to live with the creepy old lady 73 yards away from her. And she does that for 1 year, and she goes to another 5 years. She's 30 now. And then she's 40. She's 40, and she's 40 because she starts wearing glasses and wears a different haircut.
Yeah, the old age makeup here kind of got cut from the budget. I feel like it wasn't
a
really
little bit.
Yeah.
Wig and glasses. That's all you get. Just a wig and glasses.
Wig and glasses.
Yeah.
Maybe
like, we ain't got time to sit you in a chair and do makeup. Let's get you on set. Here's some glasses. Just
to be fair, Millie Gibson does put on an amazing "I am done with life" face that all 40-year-olds wear.
Oh God! Why do we keep attacking Charlotte in this?
Oh no, I didn't mean Charlotte.
It was at this moment he knew he fucked up.
I'm 40. I'm over 42, babe. Do I have that look on my face? Really, buddy? Thanks.
Oh no, what am I doing?
We all have it occasionally. It's fine.
On the 40th year of Ruby's birth, someone that we had heard about before from the doctor, Roger Ap Gwilliam, not William, Gwilliam, and he is wanting to run for Prime Minister as a Welshman for the Albion Party. Don't know if that is important at all, but I assume it's a BBC. Let's not be partial to either side in this debate, which I guess they still have to do in Doctor Who.
Well, they didn't say what party Harold Saxon was representing either.
It is clear to see that he fucking loves nukes.
Yeah, he's gonna nuke him.
He definitely wants some Fallout. Watch the Fallout Watching Now podcast on Couch Soup whenever you get a chance. Ruby goes all the dead zone on us and starts getting close to William, signs up to volunteer for election. She carries coats around whilst they're having a nice interview on TV, which he totally wrecks and asks the TV person to cut out everything where he said he wanted to explode the world with nuclear weapons.
Yeah. Cut that part. That makes me look
kind of
bad.
on the nose.
Do not air that, please. He wins the election, and they're about to have a nice press conference on the field at Cardiff City Stadium, where he's about to tell the world that he's bought loads of nukes off Pakistan, and they're gonna leave NATO. And Ruby's like, "Oh no, he's definitely gonna use those nukes, isn't he?" Because
if it wasn't clear before. Also, he sexually assaults a woman.
Yeah, there's a side plot there where like it's implied that he kind of like sexually abuses one of the staff.
So if you didn't think he was bad before, he's definitely bad now.
Yeah.
It's definitely implied. Marty, I think her name was, says he's a monster. Yeah, he is a monster. He is a fucking monster.
Well, I think what's interesting is like there's a turn there's a moment when she's going through her historical sort of like the history of like you see the years go by, right? Like she's doing the cheers from her window to the lady, and there's a moment where she actually like the comfort of her is there. And we also see her going on dates and stuff like that with like other people trying to find relationships, but she can't because she's already in a relationship with this old lady, right? Like, which is pretty interesting, like pretty like a nice like. Here's the deal: it's not just a trope, right? Like, it's not this. Hey, there's this scary thing. Now we're introduced to like a character moment where we understand like how this would truly affect someone, which is really cool. Like. And again, I just go back to the writing of this. It's really, really like this is a really well written episode, like from a character study, right? Like Davies really understands. Like, are you guys? Have any of you watched Baby Reindeer? I'm going to go off on a little side tangent here.
No,
so Baby Reindeer deals with something like this, where someone is sort of like can't get out of their own way, can't find a relationship because he's in a relationship with a stalker. Like he likes having a stalker, and for reasons we get into that I don't need to get into, but like him having a stalker, most people would go to the police and just get rid of it, be like, hey, like a restraining order, but he didn't want to because he wanted the attention, right? And now not that Ruby can go and get rid of this person, but the fact that there's this someone always with her now it becomes not scary to her anymore, but comforting. Right, like it's something that she looks forward to, and I thought that was a really cool or smart way to address this problem, because I think any other writer or a lot of other writers would have just kept the tension going and been like, oh no, it's terrifying, she's always scared, she's crying in a corner always. No, like you go through long enough, this becomes just part of every day. You actually you start to like expect it and want it and need it, and I thought this was really smart. I thought. Again, I keep praising this episode. I think that this episode is like 99% just incredible, and then the last, like to your point, Ian, the ending is just like so frustrating. But here's another moment where I really, really thought they nailed this. They nailed the this progression of time and what it would be like for someone to go through this. I thought this was really smart.
It's like when I got told that I had tinnitus, and now it's just there. It's just there. I know it's there. I can't do anything about it. I just live with it. It's Ruby's tinnitus.
Tendinitis? Is it tinnitus or tendinitis?
No, it's a ringing in my ears.
Yeah, tinnitus.
Yeah, tinnitus. Yeah,
it's tinnitus in our country actually.
It's also...
Is it? Oh shit, that's crazy. Man, I learned something new every day.
Don't start anybody on what this is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is a can of what was that?
What it's made of.
Aluminum. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell the rest of the world how the Brits say aluminum.
Right now, I am gonna put a gif of a fishing rod, and I'm not gonna fucking bite.
Damn it! Nice try, Charlotte.
I know. I giggle every time I hear it. I can't help it.
It's aluminium. It's aluminium. It's aluminium.
Nice.
I love it.
So we're on
Carry on.
the football field, and Ruby knows this is her last chance to assassinate the William, Mad Jack William. Assassinate is a strong term, but basically
rid
what
of
what she does. She starts walking on the grass and she overestimates the amount of walking she has to do at first, and then she starts measuring the distance so that she can position the woman. We know which direction. What would she have done if it would have been behind her at
I
this
know,
point?
turned around.
Yeah,
Right.
or to the
Yeah, I don't
side.
know.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's positioned in the perfect spot to get William on stage. So she positions it so that the old lady is right next to him, so that William can hear what the old lady says. Oh no, I hate Ruby, so I'm off and can't. And
Yeah. I am now going to abandon government because of this waitress
resign.
one girl.
So this doesn't make sense to me. So does that mean that Kate Leatherbridge Stewart also resigned from unit because she could no longer do her job?
Right. You see where I was going to? Why I set this up? It doesn't make any sense. Like, he literally quits Parliament. He's the Prime Minister of Britain, and he's like, "Peace out. I don't want to do this anymore because this old lady talked to me." It has nothing to do with Ruby.
Yeah.
Like, this is where the episode starts to fall apart, right? Like, it starts to, like, the plot holes start to, like, shine through, and it's frustrating because you're like, "Oh my god, this episode was shit."
Yeah.
And I can almost forgive it. I can almost forgive it because what if the old lady tells the person what they need to hear for them to kind of be gone from the situation? I don't know. Like, I could probably reason my way out of it, but it's not a clear one to one, right? It's not a. If I have to, like, come up with excuses on why it happened, it's bad storytelling. So here we are in a bad storytelling moment where all the other characters, all the other moments where the character just cared about getting away from Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have a person that not only wants to probably get away from Ruby, but quits Parliament. It doesn't.
Yeah.
The logical way to do it would have been for him to start yelling about, "I need the codes. I'm gonna nuke right here, right now. Give me the codes." And he gets rugby tackled and just sent to jail. Like, that would have been the better way to do it. But I don't know why he had to go back and be like, "I'm writing my resignation right now."
Yeah. Ask her about it. Ask her.
That makes me want to know what was said to her mother even more. So I'm like, okay, pissed her off, made this one bugger off, scared that one, never heard from any of these people again. But again, to Drew's point, they didn't just quit. This guy buggered off completely from everything.
Yeah, he decided to peace out from all of his obligations immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, he quit everything. So I want to know what was said, not just to him. I want to know what was said to all of them, because I'm just like, what the hell can this entity be saying?
It's like there was a scene cut out that had somebody where, like, she had a boss or something where that boss then resigned because she was part of that team. Like, you could draw the line to say, like, she was a part on his political team, therefore he resigned not to be close to Ruby. Like, so that's where the logic goes, right? Like, right away you're like, okay, Ruby's on his team, therefore he has to resign in order to get away from her. Right. So that's like the through line quickly. But, like, they needed another moment where that happened, where she knew that would happen to him. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense, like, why, like, she would know that that's the witch lady would do that to him. Like, so it's sort of like it's missing a pin. And that's frustrating for a great episode.
He wasn't listening for it. He didn't know that the lady was there because of that perception filter. How many other drive-bys has this woman had over the time? She could never go into a Costco because, like, she would be inside the Costco.
Right.
That's true. Costco's are big enough. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah. No paper towels for you. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyone walking, like, on Christmas Eve, best Christmas present in the world, that old lady on the street, on the pavement, anyone walking past, fucked. William wasn't talking to her. He was just stood by it.
But no, he did. No, he walked up to her.
Yeah.
He walked up to her and said, But you're right. He probably would have ignored her, and because everyone else had a prompt to go and like talk to her, like, hey, you see her, go talk to her. He didn't have that prompt either, right? So again, another flaw in the logic. But the tension of this moment where she's walking down the field to get to 73 yards is executed well. Like I thought this was great. Again, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's like this. It's so irritating because the episode's so good.
The tension was unneeded in this part of the episode. To me, from everyone's perspective, she's moving away from the VIP, and they're getting progressively more panicked. It's like, oh, she's moving away from the guy we're supposed to protect. Quick, shoot her! Like what? She's actively moving away from the guy you're protecting, you nutters.
Yeah, I took that as like the moment someone is just moving and not listening, and when you're telling them to not move, it doesn't matter which direction they're going, they're not listening to you. So it's like me trying to punish my child, right? I don't care what he's doing, he's not doing the thing I want him to do, therefore I'm going to get angry.
You will listen to me and not speak a word. I am your father, and you, boy, are not yourself. You are too quick to temper. You are rash, insubordinate, and out of control. This will not stand.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, they're literally saying, oh, she's moving, but she's moving away from the guy we're supposed to be protecting. So
maybe they watch too many American cop shows where
that's true. Same thing.
It doesn't matter if you're doing what you're told or not.
Right. That's my point. Yeah. That's a very American response to a situation.
I don't think that's how British people would respond to that. They'd be confused more than anything. Somebody would probably be running at them with handcuffs instead of, like, you know, resorting to guns.
It did the job though. Accomplished her mission. She's all good with the old lady now because she became useful. And then another 40 years go by, and now she's 80 years old. She goes up and sees the TARDIS and it's become some sort of memorial for the Welshies. The TARDIS hasn't moved. It's just there. It's got moss growing all over it and all stuff. We find out that she's never talked to her mum again and never found out who her actual mum was. Which is
it never snowed again. It never snowed again.
It's never snowed again. She used to have the power to make it snow. She didn't know how to use it.
It did earlier. It did earlier in the episode.
I think that's a big indicator that this timeline just isn't like working in as part of reality. I think it's like a bubble timeline.
Maybe
that's centered around Ruby.
We'll go a little bit forward. Ruby's on her deathbed. I think so at this point.
Dude, it's the most unbelievable part of the episode. The NHS is still working in so many years. Why?
Lights out. She chides the young nurse for telling her that she's shit at technology with like a voice activated light, and then the lights go out and the old lady appears and it's closer than 73 yards, and then it's a little bit closer again, and then the light flickered horror style, and then she becomes the old lady.
Does she?
It looks like she becomes the old lady.
That's what happens.
You don't think it's what happened?
I think she just dies and the loop's broken. I think the old lady is the old lady. I don't think it's Ruby.
The fairy circle said Mad Jack and Rest in Peace. So maybe those two needed to be fulfilled.
It's hard. Like again, like this is where the episode gets a little wonky. Yeah, I could see how both ways though. Like because it does feel like she's turning and she's reaching to become one with the entity or something. Like they're going to combine, or the old lady. But my thought is like she just like that's her last thing she sees before she dies. Like and it's kind of this creepy thing, and it starts to turn towards her because you never see her face, so we never really know.
But the reason why I think that is because the camera went into first person, like you were her eyes, like Ruby became her eyes, the old lady's eyes. The words that she starts saying, I think so anyway, is don't step, and which is projecting onto.
Once we go back in time to the beginning, because she's not saying that at the deathbed moment, right?
No, but she jumps into the old lady at the beginning of the loop. It seemed.
What do you mean? She jumped into her? I'm not trying.
Well, it's like our memories did flow into Ruby because she's like, "Oh, I think I've been here 3 times. I think this is the third." And I'm like, "What? How?
Yeah.
Why?" Like she clearly
Yeah.
has knowledge of the previous timeline, but she's not saying anything about it.
Well, she just senses that she'd been here before, but she couldn't actually pinpoint why or how.
We sort of transported into seeing from the old lady's eyes. You see the beginning of the episode from the old lady's perspective,
Yeah,
where the
right.
Doctor and Ruby walk out of the TARDIS on the Welsh Cliff. You start to hear whispers of "don't step." It catches the Doctor. Well, it catches Ruby actually, and the Ruby stops the Doctor from stepping onto the fairy circle and breaking the circle. And all is well with the world because they've not broken the fairy circle at this point.
And he stops her from reading the scroll.
Yes,
the message. So yeah, I think and this is like literally this moment. I'm about to like what like it, nothing. This the ending here is just so underwhelming that like it feels like all of that work didn't really mean anything. Like this episode doesn't mean anything, and I hope that's not the case, right? Like because all this was a character study for Ruby, like a character development moment. Like we understand her character better as we go through the rest of the season, and she's only got 4 episodes left until she's replaced anyway. So why I don't know, but it feels like a throwaway, right? You're like, oh my god, what a great episode! Oh, we just throw that, and that's unfortunate.
The episode only makes sense if you take into account that Ruby has supernatural powers that she can only unconsciously use.
Yeah.
And the fairy circle was not actually what caused this, but Ruby reacting to the Doctor talking about Robert Ap William.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Like I feel like there has to be a larger play here to make this episode important. Otherwise, this episode just doesn't. It's like why did we have this episode? It's like a filler episode that doesn't really matter to anything.
In a season where we really don't have time for filler.
Right. And it's a great episode for filler. I mean, it's a great in a moment, like, but it has to to mean something more. And if the Doctor doesn't know what happened, he can't put it all together. Like he seems to have no idea, which is crazy, right? For someone who's a being of time and space, he seems to have no consciousness of what just happened. So, which is even more frustrating, right? Like you think the Doctor would have kind of like had a wink at the camera and be like, okay, I know what happened here, kind of, or something.
Yeah, I'm with you. The episode was not tied up well at all. There's too many questions left sitting out there. You know, who's the old lady? Why is the old lady? Why did this happen? Where did the Doctor go? Were we in an alternate timeline? Was the Doctor in an alternate timeline? Like, I need more information. I think they probably could have used another half an hour and kind of buttoned everything up.
Yeah.
I have this crazy theory that Ruby is actually housing the trickster character who caused the turn left fiasco for Donna Noble. Because this whole scenario here was almost exactly like how turn left worked. You know, you go through Donna goes through a load of stress and a bad life, and everything goes to heck. And to the point where she forcibly changes the timeline at the end and everything goes to where it should be. It's very similar to what's happened here with Ruby Sunday, forcing the change in the timeline at the end of this episode. So if we take that into account, it would relate to that character because it was one of the Tricksters Brigade did it there. And as I've seen in a video, the Tricksters theme was used in the second episode with when related to when the Maestro was talking about Ruby's hidden song.
That's wrong. What do you mean?
And it's actually a variation of the Tricksters theme from the Sarah Jane Adventures. So I feel like that character might be brought up again in the future. Or this is a wild theory.
But as for now, this ending fucking sucked. Right now, as I'm feeling right now, nothing happened. 2 minutes of this episode actually happened. Nothing that they did mattered. So what was the point? So you don't even have the recollection, as far as we know, of seeing the Susan Twist character and knowing that I recognize you. Mrs. Flood stuff. We don't see anything. Nothing happened in this episode because they made it nothing happen in this episode. What you've wasted my time.
We did
Yeah.
get to see
I mean-
Ruby get like royally punished by the universe yet again, though. So
Yeah. I feel you. Like, there's what's the episode with the what is the 13th, the old man doctor, why am I
13.
blanking on
Heaven
his name?
Sent.
Oh yeah, where
Are we
he's
talking
locked
about?
in the prison.
Yeah.
When he
Yeah.
has to punch his way out of the thing. It's just
Yeah.
it's the same vibe. Like, but here's the thing. I like that episode. I thought it was a powerful episode, and I still like this episode. I still think it's a powerful, and it's like just an incredibly well written and well made episode. Like, it's almost like the journey is worth it, even though the ending kind of ruins it a little bit. It's almost like, even though if this does end up being like a singular bubble kind of like episode where nothing really mattered, I guess I'm still okay with it, because I still think it's a well-made episode, and I can live and rewatch it for that, because I think it's so smart. I don't know. I thought the journey was good enough for me to kind of forgive the ending, but the ending is still really frustrating. Did the doctor break the circle and he was punished and got sent away, or did Ruby call Matt, like, by reading the scrolls? Was it break? Because doctor then stops, even though the doctor didn't break the circle, he also stops her from reading, or is it the combination of the both? So like, the doctor breaks it so he gets banished from the universe, is like his punishment, and her punishment for reading the scrolls is the 73 yards old lady kind of vibe. You think that's kind of how it worked?
That's exactly how I think it worked. Yeah, summarized completely, Drew.
I think that the doctor simply just got taken out of equation as a result of a paradox. I think the paradox was already in place, so the doctor was removed because he's already got to come back as the other version who's not stepping on the thing.
But I think what's even more frustrating at the end of the episode is the doctor still mentions Mad Jack. Like, he still mentions that character. So it's not like he was blinked out of existence, or like he could still do the thing he ends up doing, because we're in the past now, and Ruby doesn't have old witch lady to stop him. Or is the hex circle like stopping him from becoming the prime minister? I don't understand. See, this is my problem. Like, the hex circle, I don't understand what the hex circle does to Mad Jack or the Parliament guy.
I think it can't be sealing him, because the doctor mentions him before the fairy circle's even mentioned.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Understand.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
It's like, why write an episode that doesn't make sense at the very end? Like, that's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Oh,
because none of it mattered anyway.
It's like, just watching this is just pain. It's just
someone
painful.
Call Davies right now. Get him on the goddamn phone and have him answer these questions. I don't understand why it's so hard.
Like, listen, sir, you left us with more questions than answers, and we can't. I don't have energy for this right now.
I need director's commentary. They needed to release the director's commentary version of this episode after it aired, like a day later or something.
I think what upset me about it, and I wasn't like upset, but what kind of irritated me about the episode was that it was a good episode. It was well written. And it was interesting, and it was a thriller, which I like, a thriller where you don't actually ever see the monster, that makes it a little extra scary. But I need a payoff at the end of it. I need the story to be buttoned up. I need the answers to my questions, and I just didn't have that. But the rest of the episode was great. I just want the rest of the information.
Well, let's go into our final scores and summary of what you thought of the episode.
What a train wreck, man. Everything in this episode was set up to mean so much, and it meant nothing, and it was so confusing, and things without explanation again. No, I can't, man. I give Space Babies a 5, right? 5.1.
Oh.
Oh, wow. And it beat out Space Babies? Okay. All right. Nice.
The 8th babies.
I forgot.
Yeah,
right.
I would rather be confused to heck than be annoyed at babies.
This episode is so hard to rate for me. I think up until like the last 5 minutes, it's like one of the best Doctor Who episodes I think I've seen, even without the Doctor. And listen, I kind of want to I gave Millie Gibson a lot of shit when I saw her in the first episode with the guy, the church on Ruby Road. I wasn't really feeling her vibe. Like I felt like the Doctor overshadows her. Like he's just got so much charisma. But seeing her like carry an episode, and I thought she did an incredible job. I thought she really showed her acting chops. And I also want to point out that I think the costume department does a really bad job. Like the stuff she wears, like in the first few episodes, is not great. But when they age her up and she's wearing like actually adult outfits, she actually like I'm like, wow, these are actually outfits that flatter her, like as like a female. Like I'm like, oh wow, she looks much better now. Like she doesn't look like some weird like homeless punk rock kid or something. Like I don't know what's with the outfit she wears for the first few episodes. I'm like, I don't understand what you're wearing. But I feel like this episode did a lot for me to really like the character of Ruby Sunday, and I thought Millie Gibson did an incredible job. And to hold an episode without Ncuti, who is just in my mind one of the most charismatic doctors we've had ever. So I don't know, just props all around for that. So I'm gonna give this a pretty high rank. I'm gonna give this like a 9, and then in hopes that the later episodes kind of resolve some of the things that we're talking about. And even if they don't, I'm still gonna give it a 9. I would give it a 10 if it landed the ending.
I think I'm probably going to go about a 7.5 just because of the ending, because it just derailed my brain so hard. I'm like, I was on board once I kind of figured out where we were going, and then we didn't actually get there. So I have to say about 7.5. I agree. Millie is really kind of overshadowed by Ncuti, and it's not intentional. He is just that charismatic and has just that much screen presence. But I always enjoy an episode where we kind of ditch the Doctor for a minute and just follow the companions to see what kind of shenanigans they get up to without him. I really need that resolution on that story. It's kind of driving me nuts.
What that steering wheel be? It's driving me nuts.
Hopefully they're going to wrap it up in the next couple episodes, or we'll get some sort of information as to what happened or didn't happen. But yeah, I'll go 7.5.
How do you rate 2 minutes of television? I don't quite understand. Up until the ending, I was right there with Drew. I was there thinking this is like a Weeping Angels type horror villain that can come back again and again if we get a resolution here. Maybe a little bit before the end because you can't age the whole cast all that time. But like when we got into the end of where the Wales section or the end of the mother changing the locks, really scary, really lots of tension. I really enjoyed not knowing and the mystery. Turned into the dead zone, and then the ending derailed the whole thing. I hate with a passion any ending which is and it was all a dream, or and this didn't happen because we went back in time to fix it all. I hate it. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of effort, and it's fecking lazy. Make it mean something. If Ruby retained all of the memories from that timeline, it meant something.
Mm-hmm.
She had an inkling that something had happened, but she didn't retain anything.
Yeah.
This means nothing. Like character growth while she's on her own gives us an idea of the character, but she's not going to be on her own, so it's not going to progress the same way. The whole episode of television meant almost nothing, and I'm really angry about it. I mean, I have to judge it on the 2 minutes of television that actually mattered in this, which was them walking off the TARDIS and walking down the street, and that was boring. So it's going to get a 2 from me.
Yes.
I never thought I would hear I never thought I would hear somebody make a correlation between Doctor Who and Dallas. Sorry. Like they Bobby Ewing'd this. Like,
they Bobby Ewing'd this.
Amazing. You're not wrong though. Like if there was if the Doctor or Ruby had remembered it or something if there was a repercussion moving forward and we don't know yet. I guess the next 4 episodes will tell us if this episode mattered. And I think that's a problem. Inherently, that's a problem for the episode as a whole. Like the episode should stand alone. Like if it's sort of like it's why a sequel, or it's like the middle movie of a trilogy always sort of like is always shitty because it needs the other two bookends to kind of make it what it is. Does that make sense? It's like if you didn't have the first movie, this movie doesn't make sense. If you don't have the last movie, the ending of that movie doesn't make sense. So it doesn't matter. So I feel you. And this is an episode 4, so we're halfway through. So it does feel like a bookend. It does feel like an episode that needs the beginning of the series and maybe the end of the series to kind of make it as powerful as it needs to be. So I feel you. I totally feel you. But I'm hoping there's more here than meets the eye. Transformers. Wait, what?
We've had a range of scores there from 2 to 9.
Yeah.
This is the least agreeable that we've been so far.
I know.
2, a 5.1, a 7.5, and a 9.
I didn't know we could give point ones. That was amazing.
I am just trying to play the system to keep the babies down.
I like it. You know what? Though I think that's what makes a great episode of I don't. It's hard for an episode, or hard for nowadays for everyone to make everyone happy or everyone angry. Well, I guess it's easy to make everyone angry, easier to make everyone angry. But the fact that it's as polarizing as it is, I think speaks to how good of an episode I think I think we'll look back and think that this is probably a pretty good episode of Doctor Who. I think, and most people will probably come down on that. No offense again.
There's just been an old woman at me and Ian's place whispering stuff in our ears, and we've decided not to like Doctor Who anymore.
That's what we thought of the episode. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the Doctor Who Watching Now podcast on Couch Soup. If you like this, then please like and subscribe, and I'll do all that nifty stuff that you could do for us. Become a member of Couch Soup if you could possibly afford it and help support independent creators like us. Keep watching because we've got some really good stuff coming on. We've got Decoding Dragons, guys. I can't stress it enough. Decoding Dragons is back. The House of the Dragon companion series will be back with Michelle and Liz very, very soon. We will see you all next week. Thank you very much for watching and listening. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
My bye was longer than this episode. Bye.
Bye.
The House of the Dragon companion series will be back with Michelle and Liz very, very soon. They'll probably not talk to me after my new article comes out where I say that the Game of Thrones finale is really good. So this is probably the last time I'll plug them.